very warm welcome to our perspective-altering Wellbeing show, where we offer you ways to access your highest levels of energy, vitality, and freedom from dis-ease. Today, Dr. Bruce Lipton discusses emotion, trauma, and fatigue. If you're one of the thousands of people feeling under daily siege or even overwhelmed, this is for you. Sue Haddleton, the co-founder of one of the world's fastest-growing IT companies, talks about avoiding overwhelm and maintaining peak health, including keeping her home free of geopathic stress. Author Nicky Crocker explains geopathic stress lines in What If It Was That Easy? She also finds some stress lines under the home of actor Bruce Hopkins. And then finally today, Liz Hart discusses trauma and tension releasing exercises. But first, Bruce Lipton, in our pre-recorded discussion, explains just what happens to us if we feel under long-term chronic stress. Bruce Lipton, this week we're really discussing emotion and trauma and fatigue, but behind all of that is what we talked about last week, which is stress, and there are other aspects from what we talked about to stress that you wanted to bring in this week.
It's a very important aspect because last time we talked about how stress influences the blood flow in the body, blood being the energy source, and that under stress hormones, blood is sent to the periphery, and we close the blood vessels in the gut.
Which is that sort of butterflies in the stomach.
The butterflies in the stomach, but that means while you're in stress, fight or flight mode, you're not really encouraging growth and maintenance of the body, okay? But now there's another second factor of stress that is as important, if not more important, and that is this. There are actually two protection systems in the body. The adrenal system is protection from threats on the outside, but what we call the immune system protects me from threats on the inside. Well, now we have an issue. I have two environments to protect, something on the outside and something gets me on the inside, bacteria, viruses, cancer cells, whatever.
And the adrenals can get us away in our perception from the outside, from the saber-toothed tiger.
The adrenal gets us into fight or flight, but
yes.
The adrenal system also does this. Because now let me just say something about the immune system. Remember, because the whole idea of the adrenal system, allocate all the energy to go to the arms and legs so I can run away from a saber-toothed tiger. And I say, yeah, but some systems of the body use a tremendous amount of energy. The immune system. You say, the immune system? I say, yeah. You ever get sick? I say, yeah, you couldn't get out of bed. You were weak, you were tired, you were run down. Why? The immune system uses a very large quantity of energy to fight infections, so much energy that a lot of people, as I said, feel so tired and weak because of it. And I say, well, okay, well now let's take a situation. I have a bacterial infection, maybe causing, let's say, diarrhea. It's like, wow, I don't like that, so I want my immune system to fight it. But at the same time, all of a sudden, I'm being chased by a saber-toothed tiger. Well, now, if you're controlling energy in the body, if you're the brain and you're going to control energy, I would say, how much energy do you want to put in to fight the bacteria? And what % of energy do you want to use to run away from the saber-toothed tiger?
In the hierarchy of needs, I need to get away from the tiger.
Absolutely. I mean, the result is simply funny because if the tiger catches you, the bacteria is no longer a problem, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
And so basically, what's the point is this. When the stress hormones from the adrenal system are in, they're acknowledging that the threat is coming from the outside. To allocate 100% of the energy possible into the system, stress hormones shut down the immune system. The reason is because if the immune system kicks in and starts using up my energy and I'm trying to run away from the tiger and I'm just short that last amount of energy to get my ankle out of that tiger's mouth, I'm a goner. So the biology is simple and profound. It says you're running from a tiger, 100% of the energy goes into the tiger, which means then other systems, including the gut, which is maintenance of the body, but the immune system, high energy usage system, the stress hormones inhibit that function.
Now, you said last week that's okay for a short run from a saber-toothed tiger about 1,000 years ago or however long when we could rest afterwards. Yeah. Translate it to modern day life, Bruce.
Well, translated to modern day life is chronic fear means you're shutting down growth and maintenance and you're still losing 100 billion cells a day whether you're being chased by something real or not.
Chronic fear might be the person who is stressed at their work or
stressed
the mother
at work
who's stressed
because
at home.
anything that compromises your life or your life's destination is going to cause stress. And so basically I say, yes, that the stress hormones also inhibit the immune system because it uses so much energy. I can't afford to have an immune reaction. So I say, well, what does it mean? I say, well, basically it says when you're in stress, you shut down the immune system. I go, well, what's the consequence of that? And I go, hey, the 5 or 10 minutes to run away from a saber-toothed tiger is not a problem. But if you shut down your immune system and it goes on for hours and days, well, then that means, oh my goodness, you're being contaminated by all kinds of viruses, bacteria, parasites and stuff all day long. And the idea is if you shut down the immune system, then you have compromised yourself and you're no longer defensive. And that's why stress leads to illness. A, because you're not maintaining the body, that will cause illness. And B, you have lost the protection system inside the body because it's on hold waiting for you to be out of stress. Which means that if there's something in my body like a virus or a cancer cell, it's free to do whatever it wants because the immune system is on hold. Let me just emphasize, how powerful is stress in shutting down the immune system? Medical doctors give patients that they want to transplant an organ like a kidney or a heart into a person. And because it's foreign tissue, the recipient of this organ, their immune system is going to aggressively remove the transplant. Well, I don't want the transplant removed. So the doctor, before transplanting the organ, gives the patient stress hormones. And by giving them stress hormones, then they can put the organ in while the immune system is being inhibited so that there's no reaction against the graft.
That's interesting.
And that just, what it really emphasizes is how powerful is a stress hormone in regulating the immune system. It's so powerful that it's therapeutic in a sense of specifically intending to shut down the immune system to protect the transplanted organ.
And John stresses a huge part of the client base that you have. People are exhausted and people are not knowing how to cope. Can you talk about
the word stress and the word disease, I mean exactly the same thing. Disease, stress, same thing. So that's basically where we start, and we try to, obviously lifestyle modifications are important, dealing with trauma, toxins, the various thoughts, all that are interrelated.
So you have many clients who are under stress who come in with these free-ranging toxins in their body
everybody's
because their
dealing with
immunity is
stress. Obviously, it's how well you manage it.
Yes.
And so you're managing it well, your brain's functioning more effectively because you're then sending signals out to reproduce the various chemicals, or to produce the chemicals that are necessary to enhance the immune system. So it's a whole integrated perspective, and this is where we have, our discussion on gut, heart, head, brain.
Yes.
The integrated systems, because they're signaling each other the whole time through hormones and Wi-Fi systems. So the body's perfectly designed to deal with all of these issues, but we have to manage our lifestyle, and we have to manage our thoughts, our relationships, our belief systems.
Our nutrient levels, health.
All that,
It's
very critical because the ultimate top control is up here in the brain. And I can, with my mind, create any illness, including death, from a belief only. As much as everyone knows a positive thought and a placebo influence is, oh, it was the positive thought that healed me, not this drug, because it turns out the drug was a sugar pill. And then I say, well, if the drug didn't heal you, what healed you? And the answer was my belief that the drug was going to heal me. And I go, everybody's aware of that, and I say, that's really great, but just to close this up, and most important, is a placebo effect is based on having a positive thought. But nobody talks about what is the consequence of a negative thought. It's like, it's equally powerful in affecting the body, but in the opposite direction. It's given a name in medicine called nocebo versus placebo. And placebo, positive thought, healing, sugar pill, I can heal with a thought. Nocebo, negative belief, can cause any illness and can cause death as well. Nothing physically wrong with the body, just a belief. So when you see John and people that are working in this holistic energy field, it's like, yeah, I can treat the body, but I also have to have you understand the nature of your consciousness because it's the ultimate control of your biology.
Thank you, Bruce. And we did refer to a book earlier, Spontaneous Evolution and the Biology of Belief and The Honeymoon Effect, all books by Bruce Lipton, who will be back with us next week.
I look forward to it.
Thank you, Bruce. So we're here at the Global Health Clinic, and you have had some wonderful results here. I like talking to people like you because your health was good when you came in.
Yes.
But you wanted something more. What was it that you wanted?
I think I just wanted to put in place a prevention program that as I age, and as inevitably I am, I just want to be able to prevent any of the age-related illnesses that inevitably can affect you.
So rather than stay at a level where you're just okay, you wanted to lift it to a, if we like, a premium level of health.
Yes, I want to be as vibrant in 10 years at 70, 80 as I am at, 50, 60. So.
And that's essential for you because as a businesswoman, you have a lot of calls on your energy, on your time.
Yes, I certainly do.
What sorts of hours might you work at the moment? What's a big day for you, work hours?
Probably, well, I don't work really long hours, but 10 hours would be a big day.
Which is pretty demanding. So what did you get when you came in here? What sorts of help?
Mainly ozone initially. I came to see Dr. Wayne McCarthy and to get my oxygen levels optimised, so 98, 99%, and you feel really good. It kills off all the viruses, bacteria. You feel very energised. Yeah.
Do you find it helps with sleep, which is a common problem? A lot of people complain about shortage of sleep.
I think if you're just well balanced generally with your energy, you do sleep better.
You've also had a few health problems from falls, from physical challenges.
Yes.
Have you found some good help here with that?
Yes, I fell off a cliff and broke my ankle and banged my head, and so I did come for some cranio support and some physio.
And the recovery was good?
Yes, very good. Everyone was amazed. I was doing very well after a couple of months.
I'd love to talk to you also about Nicky Crocker coming to your house, if you could tell me a bit about that.
Yes, she came and tested our house for geopathic stress and found that everywhere where we sleep and work was essentially in a geopathic knot.
And were you finding effects from that? Looking back, once she told you about it, what were the effects that you were having before she cleared that?
Well, she was actually amazingly accurate. Where my husband and I were sleeping in our bedroom, I was sleeping in an area that was causing some digestive issues, but she didn't know that, but she actually said to me, whoever's sleeping here is having digestive issues, and my husband was having some neck issues, and she also pinpointed that, not knowing that he had those issues.
So this is where the line ran. So the proof of the pudding is in the eating. After you moved the furniture, did you find an improvement in those issues?
Yes, absolutely. Almost within a week or so, it was a noticeable difference.
There was also something with your car, if we can just run past that, because it can affect the running even of a car.
Yes, that's what really convinced us. We had a high-end, brand new car in our garage, and she immediately said, well, this car would probably be having some electronic problems. Well, the brand new car had barely worked since the day that we had got it.
And that was caused by the line, the geopathic stress line?
Yes.
So you're convinced?
So that was really fascinating. That really convinced us. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much,
You're
Sue
welcome.
Haddleton.
And action. Now, welcome back. We're back here at what I like to call my little hobbit hole. Nicky Crocker's come back. She's going to see how I followed up her analysis and diagnosis of what was going on in the geopathics of my living space.
Nicky, could you tell me about geopathic stress? What is it, the lines underneath the land?
Well, they're made up with magnetic fields of Earth. So Earth has magnetic fields that go right around the whole Earth. We need them for life as we know it, and they're everywhere. But there's also underground rivers and streams, and we've got 70% of the Earth's water is actually under the ground, and it creates a frequency. So you just need to know where they are in your home. There's no point worrying about them, but by identifying them, you can move your furniture and be healthier like we were with Bruce.
So when we lived in the wild, we could read the Earth more. We could feel where these lines were more. We were more connected.
Way more connected. And we didn't have technology like we do. Everyone has a mobile phone tucked in their pocket. And we've desensitized ourselves to that.
The mobile phone's an interesting one because we can accept that with invisible lines we can talk to each other.
Sure.
But people struggle to accept invisible lines under the Earth, don't
Absolutely.
they?
Isn't that crazy? I have no idea how my phone gets a message to you. However, the same energy or a similar frequency of energy is coming up through the Earth. And you might brush it off as being a headache or feeling uneasy or having a hot or cold feeling, but you could actually be locating on one of these Earth's fields.
Tell me about your own story coming to this. What made you look at geopathic stress lines in the Earth?
I got told I was a 100-year-old fungus, apparently, by an acupuncture test after chronic arthritis in my feet. And this was irritating my feet. Having a dowser like me come out to my home, he identified directly across my corner of the bed was this underground energy. By moving my bed, it stopped the pain. It took about probably 6 or 7 weeks for me to notice, but for my daughter, we moved her bed, and she was a bedwetter, unfortunately, 12 years of age, moved her bed, she stopped wetting her bed that night.
She was having a line through that bed. So the implication for parents with small children.
Huge, huge.
And the quality of sleep improves once these lines are not running through the beds where we're lying.
Often instantly, when I do a dowsing with someone, they'll notice something quite quickly. They'll notice that their sleep's starting to improve. They're not getting up to go to the bathroom. Some people brush it off as being old. You know, I'm old. I have to get up. I have to go to the bathroom, go to the toilet. That's my lot. But when I move them, my father, who's in his 80s, I moved where he was sleeping. He was getting up around 4 or 5 times a night. He's now not.
So you come and read a house, and then you tell people not to move out of the house, just to move the furniture within the house to be away from the lines.
Of course, you don't want to have to move out of your house. I mean, there's probably most of the things you love about your house. But if you identify where they are, move your furniture accordingly, and then get on with your life. Life's amazing. Life's worth living.
So we're at Bruce Hopkins' house, and you're going to do just that for him. Let's have a little look outside and see what you can pick up here.
Okay, so these are my dowsing rods, and it was really interesting because when I started dowsing, I start outside because then I can't see the furniture, I can't see what's going on. So when I started dowsing through, I doused along. Shall I do it now?
Yes.
Okay, so I was dowsing along, and what happens is these move in a direction when they hit a line. So it's like me putting my foot in a creek, and I can feel the flow of energy in the direction the energy's flowing.
And the sticks show it as well.
Yeah. So when I get to here, they turn. But the funny thing is that it's actually stunted the tree's growth. So the nature's actually is affected by it as well.
You're saying a line's running right through here?
Yeah, you watch. So they'll turn, and that's showing me that the direction of energy is flowing that way, and that continues right through where Bruce had his desk in his office, and through his kitchen and through his bed.
So if it can affect the growth of a bush, how would it affect a human being's development?
Absolutely. It will irritate at a frequency that's just not healthy for us, to the point where it lowers your immune system, and then your body can't cope, and it lets your system down.
Years ago, there was a book, Songlines, Bruce Chapman. He was talking about lines in the earth, wasn't he?
Ley lines, same things.
Same thing.
Yeah, just different people have called them different names. Some people call them ley lines, some people call them magnetic field, but they're talking about the same energy lines.
And don't discount them, they have a profound effect.
Absolutely.
So, Nicky, you're picking up, we've had a look at the lines in the house. Oh, wow. That's a strong one.
Isn't that strong? So that one there runs through the house, and this is where Bruce's office used to be. He used to sit over here. So the one line ran through there, and then when I come this way, you know the one we saw outside in the garden?
Which was affecting the bush.
Which was affecting the bush. The two of them, so that one comes this way, and then when I walk into this here, they'll spin around, because this is the knot, and this is exactly where he was sitting.
The knot being where they cross over.
Where they cross over.
And he was sitting in the middle of two strong energy lines.
Yeah, completely.
And this is where he was saying it was so tiring, it was draining his energy.
Yeah, so what it does is it drains your energy, it gives you headaches, it makes you feel like you're like a foggy brain. You'll be looking, he wanted to get up often and get away from his desk, go and get a drink of water or a cup of tea, because it just makes you feel that uncomfortable.
We've talked a lot about houses, but of course this could be in offices, this could be in our parliament
Everywhere.
buildings in Wellington.
Definitely.
It could be through the country.
Through the country, everywhere. Every house has it in their house somewhere because of how frequent the lines are. And it's really potluck as to whether you've chosen the right place to lay your office or house out.
Well, let's see where you did tell him to relay his office, which is
so
over here.
Over here.
Bruce is busy working. Have we got any lines at all over here?
So when I check right through here, he's all good. He's all nice and clear.
Are you feeling good and clear here, Bruce?
Yeah, no, it definitely feels better being over here, for sure.
Welcome, Liz. We're going to talk today about TRE. If you could just tell me what it stands for and basically how it works.
So TRE stands for trauma or tension releasing exercises, and they are a set of physical exercises you do to induce what's called a neurogenic tremor. And if you've ever seen a child or an animal that's been frightened, you'll often notice that they get into a shake. And it's part of a natural technique that just allows them to settle down and release all the excess biochemicals that are running around their body.
Well, that's interesting. For example, when you have an accident and your adrenaline rushes through your blood, you do have that urge to have a shake.
That's right.
It's almost as if that's been socialised out of us, isn't it?
It completely has been. So when we don't have that experience, some of the trauma gets trapped in our body. It gets locked up there in our muscles and our whole system. And so this lovely Italian doctor, Dr. Bruce, came up with a strategy to teach people how to go back in tremor. And in doing that, they release that muscle tension and that emotional tension that's associated with those events.
So, John, this would be a great application for someone who has anxiety, and there is a lot of anxiety, perhaps not even talked about by many people privately behind doors they suffer it. Do you see that often in the clinic?
Absolutely. You're working with nature. Nature's designed the system for animals or human beings, and anybody who's done advanced meditation will know they start to shake at certain stages as they're shaking the stagnant energy through their body and allowing it to flow more easily up into the brain and beyond.
Tell me a bit more about that, working with nature, or Liz, I'll throw this to you, working with nature. So nature wants us to release immediately when we have a trauma coming into us, really.
That's right, and sometimes it's not possible for us for whatever reason. Sometimes our whole system's just overwhelmed and we go into like a freeze state. And so what this does is it gives us a safe mechanism to begin to unfreeze and let this go.
Let's take it down to day-to-day scenarios. Somebody who's gone in to see their boss, and the boss is saying, if you don't achieve these goals, you'll lose your job. And so they go out and they're having an anxiety attack. Now, they can't do the shaking in the office, can they? They can't do the release work in the office?
You would probably want to be somewhere a little more private than that. But when they go home in the evening, they can easily slip in and do this technique for themselves. And most people will find it will help them sleep better, it'll help them get along better with others because they're just more relaxed.
So I just want to understand, they have that anxiety, they have that trauma reaction. They are holding it in their cells of their bodies.
That's right.
Until such time as they can find a quiet place to release it.
That's right.
But even if it's hours later, it will release with this technique.
Absolutely, even if it's years later.
So tell me just how it works. Explain what they would do. Are there certain positions they have to get into to do this?
Yes, there's a series of 7 physical exercises that are quite simple and most people can manage them quite easily, from young children to elderly people. And so they're just basically stretching their body. They're looking for the psoas muscle here in our abdomen, which is what they call the stress muscle. And it's the one that when you get a fright and you tend to buckle in like this and hold in, that's the muscle that goes into tension.
This is the butterfly feeling you might get when you're very nervous as well?
That's right, yes. And so when we do the TRE, this whole area opens up, and this is the one where we'll often feel the tremor starting from.
Give me some examples in your practice. Perhaps you've had a business person come in who's been struggling with anxiety. Have you had any cases like that?
Yeah, I do work with businessmen who tend to hold a lot of energy and stress from their work because they're often in high-pressured situations. And so when they do this, they often find that they relax and they sleep so much better and their minds are clearer so that they can work much more effectively.
What other cases have you seen helped with this, John?
Well, just so many. I mean, all of us are dealing with stress or anxiety at different times in our life. Nobody's immune to that. And so it could be young mothers. I mean, birth is one of the most stressful experiences anybody has.
Liz, it's interesting that shaking used to be regarded as a sort of aberrant behaviour, almost a pathology. How did this doctor turn that around?
I think it was his observation of the results. So when people were suppressing the tremoring, they were retaining the trauma. But when people did the shake, then they didn't have the same result. They weren't carrying that physical tension in their bodies. They were recovering emotionally so much faster from their experiences.
And an interesting part of that too is some people don't want to talk about past traumas. It's too painful to go back into those memories. Does this modality help those sorts of people who just would not choose to talk about it verbally?
It absolutely does, and even more than that, it helps people who don't even remember what happened to them.
So you don't even need to know what trauma you're dealing with?
That's right. In fact, we encourage people not to focus on their trauma while they're engaging in the tremoring.
Can you explain that?
So what we want them to do is just be in a very present awareness, mindful state while they're doing the tremoring.
They're really in their bodies.
They're in their
feeling
body and they're aware and they're awake and they're looking at you and they can talk to you while they can watch television while they're tremoring.
But they're feeling what's going on in the cells of their body as
That's
much as they
right.
can.
They're not putting any attention on their body at all, other than just to be aware of what's going on.
So, John, this begs the question that the body holds in its cells
Stores
memories of what we've gone through.
Because these don't have to be just emotional, these can be physical injuries, car accidents, sports injuries, assaults, things like that. And I knew years ago that if I meditated in certain ways, my body would shake these tensions out. So I'd had years of bad backs and necks, and that was the most effective solution I'd ever had to sore necks and upper back.
That's phenomenal, because so many people suffer with back problems. Have you seen much of that in your practice, Liz? Back problems improving?
I've seen people who've done really remarkable things and had great healing, not just from back problems, but from, like, one woman I worked with had horrific stomach pains from anxiety. And she went from a 9 out of 10 on the pain scale with stomach pains to 1 or 2 overnight.
Without having to analyse it, just being able to shake it out of the body.
Just shaking it out of the body. And as long as she consistently did that, the pain was just gone.
Fascinating.
What we've traditionally done is give people drugs to stop them shaking, to suppress it, or we've grabbed them and held them to stop them shaking, which is counterproductive.
So particularly with little children, we want to encourage the shakes after a fright. We want to let them release.
That's right. Children quite enjoy it. They'll often laugh while they're doing it. It's quite fun to do. And so there's no problem with anyone learning how to use this strategy.
So for a mother with a child who's anxious, who's unsure, who's underconfident, would you recommend this sort of treatment?
I would highly recommend that the whole family do it together.
That's another interesting aspect of the technique. It can be done in large groups.
That's right, and part of how it was developed was working with large traumatised populations in war zones, with the military, with the police force, these kind of populations where they're facing strong trauma and they don't have an easy way of facing it, and they don't necessarily want to talk.
Are males who perhaps might not want to communicate so much, are they open to this, do you find?
They seem to be more open to this than talk therapies.
You came to this through meditation. Could you just tell me a little bit about your background there?
Yeah, so my background, I did my master's degree in meditation overseas, studying with John Hagel and Deepak Chopra for a period of time. And so I brought that back into my work. So it informs all the work that I do.
In a way, this is like a step beyond meditation, I suppose. Meditation is stilling the system. This is shaking the system around a bit, isn't it, to release?
That's a good thing to say, because there are different kinds of meditation that you do for different purposes. So you know how we have different brain waves? We've got beta waves, alpha waves, theta waves, like this. There are different kinds of meditation you do to access those different mental states.
So you can do a walking meditation or a sitting meditation. Right. Are you saying this is a form of meditation, Liz?
I feel it is a form of meditation, but it's a body form of meditation. And you get that same deep sense of peace and relaxation after you use it.
And it's an easy method to learn.
Anyone can learn to do this.
Wonderful.
And it's one of its great things. It's very cost effective, because once you learn how to do it, you can just go away and do it forever for yourself. It's not something that you need to keep seeing someone for support and training to do.
Many people will say, I've never heard of this before, who are watching. What would you recommend if they want to learn it, if they want to pick it up?
If they want to learn it, they go look for a certified trainer and practitioner, which they can find through the trauma reduction website in New Zealand, or overseas, Dr. Baselli.
Dr. Baselli. And it is spreading like wildfire around the world.
It's used all over the world.
Lovely.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Liz Hart.
Thank you.
It was powerful today to hear Bruce Lipton say that in fight or flight mode, there is no growth or maintenance of the body. And I also found it fascinating to hear Sue Haddleton talk about geopathic stress affecting her Bentley car electronics. Great to see Nicky Crocker with her dowsing rods. Her book giveaway is on our Facebook page. And I also loved Liz Hart's TRE approach for getting trauma out of the body without necessarily needing to verbalize it. Next week, we discuss new science ideas on human evolution and the importance of community with Dr. Bruce Lipton. We also look at cognitive tools that you can use to help well-being with life coach and author and health columnist Louise Thompson. And we further discuss adrenal fatigue with Dr. James Wilson. Until then, I wish you well-being.